Hey guys, and welcome back. My name's Kris. I'm a GP registrar here in Australia, and today I'm going to be talking about a pretty controversial topic. I'm sure that everyone's heard these terms before: organic, detox, holistic health, adrenal fatigue, hormone imbalance, fixing your gut biota. So many keywords are out there at the moment, and it's all embedded in the wellness culture, right? Everyone wants to do better for themselves, to make sure that they are the healthiest version of themselves. But the problem is, a lot of it's not backed by science, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The thing is, these terms sound absolutely wonderful. They sound like the type of lives that we want to live, and I'm not here to fight that. Again, I'm here to talk about the science. Now, a lot of what I want to talk about will not be covered in one video, so this will end up being a series. I've actually already got 3 videos planned out, and I'm planning on filming them today. So if you see this face, well, yeah, I probably just filmed it right after this. I tend to sometimes change what I'm wearing, but I don't know if I can be bothered. Anyway, let's get back into it, shall we? I follow quite a few influencers here in Australia, the health and wellness and holistic princesses of YouTube. And I really like these women, honestly. I admire their ambition, their drive, their business etiquette, and the fact that they want to help people. That just resounds with me, or resonates with me, I should say. But I take issue with a lot of their terminologies. So that kind of prompted this whole video, actually. A couple of the people I'm talking about include Sarah's Day, or Sarah Stevenson, who I believe lives in New South Wales. Ella's Wholesome Life, or Ellie Bullen, who again I believe lives down in the Gold Coast, or I'm not too sure actually. Anyway, and Ashley Bynes, or Ashley Evans. She is probably the most notable name of all of them, and she's a fellow Queenslander. So very quickly, a big disclaimer. This is not a personal attack on these women or anyone in the same sphere as them. I truly admire these women, and I'd love to be friends with them. Don't they seem like the nicest people on earth? I'm just here because they've inspired me to speak out and to talk more about the science. All I want to do is talk about the terminologies they use and provide a bit of an evidence-based spin to it to show you that it may not mean what you think it means. My second disclaimer is that I am a traditionally Western medicine trained doctor, which means that I basically just practice within an evidence-based medicine sphere. That means that if something can't be reproduced in several tests, isn't proven to be safe, isn't proven to have results, or doesn't have a lot of backing behind it, I traditionally don't subscribe to it. There are complementary medical practitioners or alternative medical practitioners out there, like chiropractors, naturopaths, osteopaths, and so on. And whilst we may disagree on a lot of things, ultimately we're here for your health, right? So I'm not here to bash them, I'm not here to say they don't have a role. Again, I'm just talking about the science and the evidence. One final disclaimer so we can finally get on with the video is that whilst I am a doctor, I'm not your doctor, which means that any advice I give is meant to be general advice. These videos are meant for education and entertainment purposes only, and in no way am I trying to tell you what to do with your body. If you have questions, please ask your doctor. Alright, now we can jump into it. So let's call this episode 1, and episode 1 is about demystifying the detox. Because of its nature, I couldn't do this video without also talking about supplementations. Also, if you ever see me start to look down, it's because I have notes on my phone. I'm going to do my best in the editing, but yeah, you girls still new at this. What we eat. The theory with the detox is that we as humans accumulate toxins through the air we breathe, the stuff we put on our skin, and the things that we put into our digestive system via eating. There are practitioners out there who will state that an accumulation of these toxins can lead to a whole variety of things, including acne, bloating, weight gain, fatigue, irritability, depression, you name it. A lot of these things can be explained by toxins. I can see why people are so invested in fixing these issues. Heck, I want to fix some of these issues too. But the problem is, it's not backed by science. Another issue I take is not only is it not backed by science, but a lot of the practitioners who will tell you that you've got a heavy metal overload or mold toxicity or what have you, will then sell you something to fix it. They will sell you a detox tea or a tablet or a juice fast or a water cleanse and tell you that you're going to get better after that. And that's where I take issue. I would never try and sell you a product that I would profit from, because it just doesn't seem ethical, does it? But hey, I'm not here to bash anyone. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? So before we dive into anything more, let's talk about what we do know. The body is a complex organism, and after 6 years of medical school and 4 to 5 years out on the job now, I can't even begin to say that I know everything. I don't. There is so much I don't know. But I do know a little. What I and modern medicine do know is that our body takes in toxins every single day, and we're okay. We as a species have come a very long way whilst also accumulating toxins. So is it as bad as it sounds? Let's find out. There's actually a whole subset of medicine dedicated to this, and it's called toxicology. If your toxicologist tells you that you've got a heavy metal overload, I'd probably believe them, but if anyone else does, well, I'd like to question it a little bit. I obviously don't have the time, the energy, or the money to look into every single detox ever. I'm going to do my best to talk about it in general. That being said, the mainstream media does like to demonize or crucify certain toxins. I'm going to read them out for you now. So there's things like pesticides, which are used to protect our food against insects, BHA and BHT, which are food preservatives, and the whole reason that we as a species have continued this far. We get to save our food. It doesn't go off after a few days. It's mind-blowing that we can do it. But yes, we use preservatives, which can be toxins. And then there's other things like metals, lead, aluminium and whatnot. And a lot of them are used to preserve food as well. There's also a lot to be said in the mainstream media for things like trans fats, carbon monoxide, sulfur and nitrogen oxide. What a list! Sounds like there's a lot out there that wants to hurt us, doesn't it? So if we're exposed to all this, how are we still here? The answer is, my friends, the body is amazing. Do you know how our body protects us against toxins, inhaled particles, bacteria, viruses and so on? I'm going to tell you about it today. Let's start with inhalation. So when we breathe in, there's 2 ways we can breathe in, through our noses or through our mouths. If we go via our nose, we have a lot of little hairs in there and things called cilia and mucus. So the mucociliary defense mechanism is the very first port of call that protects us against things. It's why we don't inhale bugs most of the time. The air then travels down from the nasal passages to the nasopharynx, which is where the COVID swab goes, just out of interest and curiosity. Goes into the main pharynx, which is where when you breathe in through your mouth, air then travels to, then goes down the trachea, into the bronchi and the bronchioles, and then, well, into the lungs. So let's talk a little bit more about the mucociliary clearance, right? So the mucus, like I said, traps a lot of things, and it's why we get snot and why when we blow our nose it comes out. The cilia propel things out as well. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I know everything, so I am going to read a little bit out of a textbook. But mucus is a complex combination of mucins, electrolytes, enzymes, and protein defenses which can immobilize, remove, and destroy noxious particles. That's to say toxins. So we are detoxing from the get-go. You know how I said we've got that defense mechanism up here? It's actually located the whole way down. And I'm simplifying this a lot, but you can see that from the get-go, we're already defending ourselves and detoxifying. But hey, let's argue that some toxins have gone in and have made it through to the lungs. It's not improbable. The main function of the lungs is to provide a gas exchange. Simplistically, that is breathing in oxygen, breathing out carbon dioxide. At the cellular layer, there is a membrane where we will, transfer them across. Again, really complex. I'm trying to keep this shorter than 20 minutes. Wish me luck. The thing is, the air we breathe is not 100% oxygen. Having a look at it, and again I'm reading, we've got water, methane, nitrogen, helium, krypton, and neon, as well as carbon dioxide. Remember, a lot of the other toxins we talked about. Yes, we're exposed to them all the time, but we're built to do so. A lot of it is just breathed out, and it's amazing. But again, let's argue that, yep, some of those toxins that we've breathed in have now made it into our bloodstream. So theoretically, how else can we get toxins? from the food we eat. So the gastroenterological system begins in the mouth. Yes, we've got teeth, and that's how we mechanically break down things, but we've also got saliva. And saliva isn't just water. Saliva has enzymes in it that begin to break down food from the very beginning of eating. That's right, we start to break down things in here chemically as well. It's not because we've got stomach acid in there, it's all just saliva. Then through a very complex mechanism we swallow, and I say it's complex because there's a lot of things in play there to make sure it doesn't go down the respiratory tract. Again, it happens when you swallow things down the wrong pipe, and it sucks, but most of the time it doesn't happen that way. So food then travels all the way down and enters the stomach. Oh boy, the stomach. The stomach is incredible, and it houses gastric acid, or stomach acid, right? And it's super acidic. Its pH is 1.5 to 3.5. The human body and our blood is up to 7.35 to 7.45 is our normal homeostatic pH level, right? So the stomach, very, very acidic. And the stomach lining, wow, it can house that. Isn't the body awesome? What this all means though, is that the stomach and the stomach acids break down a lot. Bacteria, viruses, toxins, food particles. A lot of digestion happens here, but no real absorption does. I'd like to quickly pipe in here, and not to burst anyone's bubble or anything, but a lot of the tablets we take also broken down here. So things like pre and probiotics, multivitamin supplements, a lot of them aren't formulated to survive the stomach content. I'm sorry. Sometimes it never makes it to the places you want it to. But I digress, we will get there in the end. Just wanted to pipe that in there. Just like the lungs, it's really complex, and I'm going to try my best to simplify it. But food then travels down the duodenum or the duodenum, depending on how you pronounce it, and makes its way into the small intestine. The small intestine is where most absorption takes place and where we absorb most of our nutrients. In the small intestine, we have what we call villi, so little hair-like or finger-like protrusions that kind of go in and suck out, that kind of sounds wrong, but absorb a lot of the nutrients, right? They've got very specific electrolyte channels in them as well, so it's not just a vacuum. They don't just vacuum up everything, it's very specific. And a lot of things are absorbed in different parts of the small and even the large intestine. So the epithelial or the lining cells of these villi will absorb a lot of the nutrients, absorb it into a lumen, and then have it transferred into the bloodstream via capillaries, which are very small, tiny little blood vessels. Now, I did say there were some exceptions to the rule that everything is absorbed in the small intestine, and I'm going to read them out to you now as well. So iron is absorbed in the duodenum or the duodenum. B12 and bile salts are absorbed in the terminal or the late ileum. Water and lipids are absorbed via passive diffusion throughout the small intestine, so it occurs everywhere. Sodium bicarb is absorbed by active transport, and glucose and amino acid co-transport. That is to say, we absorb a lot of our basics as opposed to our acidic materials with sugars. And finally, fructose is absorbed by facilitated diffusion. God, I don't know why that's a very hard thing for me to say. So basically, it's slowly absorbed as well. Okay, so more things have made it into our bloodstreams, right? Good and bad. Can you hear that plane? Let's quickly touch base on things absorbed via the skin. The skin is actually the largest organ in the body and is the first line of defense for a lot of things. It protects us both chemically and physically. What we absorb via the skin, and anywhere actually, is influenced by a multitude of factors. How much we're exposed to, over what surface area, the concentration of what we're exposed to, the integrity of the skin, so if you've got broken down skin or dermatitis, that influences it a lot, as well as the part of the body you were exposed. So the skin on our palms and our soles, very different to the skin on our scalp, very different again to our face, our armpits, our chest. You get the idea, right? For absorption to occur, whatever the substance is has to pass through one of three things: the epidermis, or the top layer of the skin, a gland, like a sweat gland, or a hair follicle. There are actually 7 layers to the epidermis, so it's not just one layer of skin, which is why when you skin your knee, you still have skin. And most things are absorbed by passive diffusion. That is to say, where there's a big concentration, things will slowly diffuse over to areas of less concentration until things are pretty much equal. It then gets passed into the capillaries, which are right under the skin, which then goes into the bloodstream. Kind of sound like a broken record now, aren't I? Look, it's so much more complex than this, and I'm not doing it justice. But let's continue, because now we have toxins in our bodies. Now what? Your body is already built with two incredibly powerful detoxing machines, your liver and your kidneys. We've also got several other detox methods. When we sweat, when we urinate, when we defecate, it's all detoxing. We're doing this 24/7. No tea is going to make much of a difference, but I promise we will get there. Detox is vital to survival. Okay, well, let's start with the liver. So typically, anything that's been absorbed through the bloodstream, especially from the GI tract, goes to the liver first. There's two types of metabolism in the liver, first pass and second pass, and I won't be touching on them, but again, just know it's complex, right? The liver has a multitude of functions, and I'm going to read them out again because I will butcher it, but basically it can produce bile, which helps break down things again in the stomach and the small intestine, such as fats, cholesterols, vitamins like vitamin K. No, cholesterol's not bad. We actually do need cholesterol in our system. That's another topic in on itself, I'm sure. We just don't demonize cholesterol, okay? We've got good cholesterol, HDL, and bad cholesterol, LDL. Then other things like triglycerides. I'm going on a tangent. Let's keep going. So what else does the liver do? It stores vitamins A, D, E, and K. We need these. A lot of these are antioxidants. It's another video coming out soon. Then in the liver, the kupffer cells will break down pathogens which enter the liver via the gut. Basically, it's an immune system, right? We're attacking things. Keeps us alive. And finally, the liver detoxes. Detoxification, the actual classification, includes the breakdown of viruses, bacteria, cholesterol, alcohol, drugs, chemicals, and helps excrete them. Do you know what happens to these toxins when they're broken down? They go back into the GI tract, and you usually poop them out. So every time you go to the toilet, you're actually detoxifying. Gross, hey, but awesome. We'll get onto urination in a second, because that's very much linked. Then we've got the kidneys. Guess what? Also very complicated. Your kidneys have several functions as well, including keeping the balance of water in the body, the electrolytes, sending out hormones to regulate things like your temperature and your blood pressure and the dilatation of Alright, I can't let this one rest. I have to touch on it. Nothing you ingest is going to change your body's pH. Your body is naturally alkaline with a pH that sits between 7.35 and 7.45. Your kidneys, like I said, are finely tuned to keep this balance. Doesn't matter if you eat an alkaline diet or an acidic diet or anything, your body will take care of it, okay? So I don't want to hear another person talk about being on an alkaline diet or their body being too acidic. If it was too acidic, it means you're probably really ill and you need to be in the emergency department. Because there's this whole complex, mind-boggling side of medicine that talks about pH regulation. It comes down to how much electrolytes are absorbed in the kidneys, how much we're breathing out, how much we're breathing in. I'm sorry, but what you eat is not going to change that. Don't waste your money, don't waste your time. Put that time, energy, and money into buying other things like fresh fruit and vegetables and whatnot, okay? No more pH diets. Got it? That's the kidney's job, not yours. You can take a day off, your kidneys won't. Where was I? Oh yes, we were talking about the kidneys. So like I said, the kidneys filter blood, making it a detox machine. It filters out the stuff we don't need and passes it off into the bladder to be urinated. It absorbs the things we do need, such as different salts, electrolytes, sorry, they're the same thing, such as sugars, electrolytes, and fluid. There are some conditions and diseases where these systems fail. I'm talking about a healthy individual with a healthy immune system, a healthy renal system, etc., not those with issues. Like I said at the beginning, toxicity is a balance of how much we're exposed to, when we're exposed to it, where we're exposed to it, the concentration of what we're exposed to, and our general health. Toxins such as heavy metals, lead, aluminium, mercury, platinum cause absolute havoc on your body, leading to things like liver failure, kidney failure, heart failure, anemia. So why don't we test for it? Because unless you exhibit signs or symptoms, there's no point casting a net, right? If you don't know there's fish, don't put a net in the water. You're not going to find anything, and anything you do find may not be related. You might just catch a rock. I don't know, I'm bad at fishing analogies. But do you see what I mean? We investigate your symptoms because that's where the evidence lies. If you come in short of breath and pale and feeling weak and fatigued, my first thing is, do you have an anemia? So I look at your full blood count to look at the size and the color of your red blood cells, and I look at your iron panel because the most common thing is an iron deficiency in 2020. If that is all normal, but your red blood cells don't look right, then I look for other things like B12 and folate. If that's all normal, then I'll start thinking of the weirder and more wonderful things. And sometimes that means I have to refer you to a toxicologist or a hematologist to figure out why you're anemic. Most doctors, and I know I'm going to get crucified for this, but most doctors aren't satisfied with an answer either. We want to know more, why, and how to help. So me telling you, oh, you're anemic, big whoop, why? Why are you anemic? I want to fix that. Got it? The way that we detect toxins depends on what we're looking for. So I had a look at the Royal Australasian College of Pathologists and where they send their tests. So a lot of the heavy metals in the body that we will look for in certain syndromes comes from the urine or from the blood. I then looked at a couple of naturopathic websites, and a lot of them say that they can do a hair sample or a buccal or a, I guess, spit sample. I don't know where they're sending these, for one, and two, hair, unless it's from the bulb, is actually dead. It doesn't have any nutrients in it or any heavy metals. It may have trace elements, but anything's got trace elements. When I looked at this particular naturopath's website, and I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, mind you, it said to cut some hair, or like use pubic hair or underarm hair if you didn't have a head of hair. I take issue with that because, again, the bulb is the part that's alive. As for the buccal samples, it really depends what you've just had in your mouth, because the cell turnover in your mouth is exquisite because it's under duress all the time. We're biting, we're chewing, there's saliva in our mouths constantly. So those cells have to have a quick turnover. So I don't know why a buccal sample now is going to relate at all. I digress a little bit, but you can see why. I keep asking why. Show me the science, show me one paper that proves that you can have heavy metal toxicity and prove it from a cut hair. Anyway, I'm getting passionate because I care, and I don't want people wasting money when they don't need to, and time and energy. Whew, let's wind it back, shall we? The other thing, actually, I just said let's wind it back, but let's just jump right back in again, is people who send blood tests overseas. I don't trust it. I'm sorry. I used to work in pathology. This is taught in med school too, but this is my, I guess, insight. So when you had a blood test taken, it was then transported to me, and then I would spin it down, make a smear, do whatever I had to do, and then pass it off to the scientists to run the tests. The thing is, blood doesn't last very long. It can be frozen and things, and I suppose if these transport or these labs are getting it frozen at the right temperature and keeping the cold chain and then defrosting it properly abroad and then spinning it down again and whatnot, it may give you an accurate sample. But the thing is, if it's not local, blood doesn't last long. And the cells in it, so for example, how do I explain this? If you drop a vial of blood, if it isn't spun down in the right amount of time, so either too early or too late, if you are too vigorous with it, it will hemolyze, or the red blood cells will swell and burst, releasing a lot of things like potassium, which make your blood seem more acidic, there's that term again, as well as having an electrolyte imbalance. That's not to say that, if you leave blood out too long, it's going to have high levels of arsenic or whatnot. That's not to say I know everything, right? Maybe there is science out there that I'm just not finding. And hey, if you can show me a paper, I will read it and I will analyze it and I'll change my mind if you're right, or if there's at least science to back it up. Okay, I'm trying not to rant and I'm so sorry. But let's look at the literature. So there was a literature review in 2014 which looked at the effects of a detoxification tea, supplement, etc. on the human body. And the thing is, this literature review showed that there were no randomized controlled trials, which means that any trials out there aren't actually good trials. Do you know what makes a study valid? Having a reproducible result, studied over a long time with a large population that comes to an outcome that is valid and important for day-to-day life. Also, they need to have measurable outcomes. Unfortunately, animal studies are not the same as human studies. That's where we start, absolutely. And quite often we will find a lot of promise in animal studies, but we cannot assume that it's going to translate into human studies. So now we know the basics of human physiology. Let's have a look at these detox products, the supplements, the teas and stuff like that. Quick note, these things can hurt you. They're not harmless. Because they aren't regulated the same way that medications are, with medical studies and measurable amounts in each capsule, sometimes you are actually ingesting things that you didn't know you were ingesting, and you're sometimes not ingesting things that you thought you were ingesting. A study in the New England Journal of Medicine showed that 23,000 cases a year that presented to the emergency department were from supplements. That's a lot of people getting sick because of supplements. And hey, I get it. Lots of medications have side effects too, and lots of medications can put you in the hospital. But I'm just saying it's not harmless. Yeah? So I mentioned a couple of those influencers before, and I really wanted to have a look into their products. Is there any, evidence behind what they say they do? So let's start with Ashy Bynes and her Bye Bye Bloat Tea. Mind you, I know that this isn't a detox per se, it's just to help with bloating and digestion, but quite often she's used terms like it helps detox and it helps this, that and the other, so I just wanted to look into it. It's not a supplement, but you can see why I think it fits in here, right? So the ingredients are organic peppermint, fennel, and licorice. Not a lot, that's awesome. And hey, I love a good peppermint tea. It feels so good, feels really refreshing. And yeah, I'll even say that I subjectively feel a little less bloated afterwards. The thing is, there's no science out there to say that any of these ingredients will help with digestion or detoxing. Maybe it's because you're having tea and therefore you're getting water, you're staying hydrated and things are flowing through. But regardless, will this tea hurt you? Probably not. There are some studies out there that looked at peppermint and its ability to help with digestion. But the thing is their p-value didn't even closely approach 0.05, meaning it's not valid. And it was also not reproducible. It had a really poor confidence interval, which means that if you were to repeat that study, probably wouldn't have the same results. Look, it's not going to hurt you like I said. If you like the taste and you can afford that, great. Can you buy cheaper peppermint, licorice and fennel teas out there? Probably, but hey, all power to you. I actually wouldn't mind tasting it, so I might buy it one day. Straying away from the influencers for a little bit, I did look into another detox tea that is actually specifically a detox tea, and this was the Skinny Mint Detox Tea. It contained ginger root, senna leaves, marshmallow root, cinnamon bark, dandelion root, cardamom seeds, peppermint leaves, burdock root, hawthorn berries, and lemongrass leaves. I take issue with the fact there's senna in there, because senna is a laxative. So I guess if pooping is detoxing, then yeah, okay, it's a detox tea. Alright, moving on. So another influencer that I love watching is Sarah's Day. She's so bubbly and I'd love to be friends with her. She has a lot of supplements out with Tropika, but one of the things she said absolutely changed the game for her with her acne and bloating and everything is what she calls body bloom. There's a lot of ingredients in body bloom. I'm only going to read out a few of them because I don't have the time. This is like the 4th time I've had to turn my camera on because it stops filming after 12 minutes. So in it, there is cherry powder, grapeseed powder, amla fruit powder, lemon juice powder, turmeric, cinnamon, rosemary, stevia, green banana resistant starch powder, fermented blend, so mung beans, brown rice, red lentils, chickpeas, flaxseed, millet, and quinoa, and agave, and guar gum. So many ingredients in so little time, but I did look up what every single one of these is supposed to do. So a lot of them are high in vitamin C and antioxidants, which is a video coming very soon. The beetle juice powder apparently is vasodilatory, which means it opens up the blood vessels and gets you flowing. So I suppose, yeah, I can see why that would be a detox thing. But I don't know the concentration. Do you know how much it takes? Does it get broken down in the acid in the stomach? There's no science behind it, so I don't know. A lot of them are just a lot of antioxidants and are anti-inflammatory, such as the turmeric and the cinnamon. What made me interested was the pure organic sulfur. Isn't sulfur something we want to avoid because it's a toxin? Anyway, it's supposedly an antioxidant. She also says natural berry flavor. Are you putting berries in there or not? What's natural berry flavoring? Anyway, all the beans, rice and lentils and stuff are prebiotics and are great sources of proteins and carbohydrates and apparently are good for digestion. Again, the pre and probiotic video is coming soon. And then there's guar gum, which is a thickener or an additive which we put in things to keep it lasting longer, which isn't really something I thought we were supposed to be using, but anyway, it's natural, right? So 2 side notes, definitely going to do something on vitamin C and something on antioxidants soon. Overall, a lot of antioxidants and vitamin C in this. A quick spoiler for my next video, but there's only so much you can absorb, so a lot of this is probably going through the belly and the guts, and a lot of vitamin C can give you diarrhea. So yeah, it probably does make you go to the toilet. Now, also the pre and probiotics, again, another video will come out, but I'll touch on it quickly. You need to ingest trillions of pre and probiotics to make it through the stomach acid. It's hard to explain, and this is a whole other video in itself, but I'll read out what I've got in my little notes. You need trillions of pre and probiotic CFU in the hopes to reach the small intestine. Body Bloom only has 1 billion. And a lot of the literature states that you need over 1 billion, but hey, we'll get there. Again, will this hurt you? Probably not. May give you some diarrhea. You are drinking water with it, so you are detoxing in that way. But will it really cure bloating, fix acne and whatnot? Probably not. I just can't see how this blend detoxes you more than anything else would. And it's expensive too. It's like $60 a month, and it only lasts a month, so that's like $500. So $800 a year that you're spending. Obviously that's not my strong point. And there's no scientific trials in any of these either. She says it helped her and that's why she's selling it, but N=1 is not a good trial, right? You can't just have one person in a trial and say, yeah, it worked for me. I mean, I could go outside and eat a raw tomato leaf and say, hey, I feel energized today. Sell tomato leaves for energy. I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent again. So then there's the traditional detoxes, right? Where you fast for a few days, or you just have lemon water, or you just have juice. Don't waste your money. Don't. Your body doesn't need a reset. It is built to work 24/7, 365 to 366 days a year. You do not need a rest to detox, okay? Your body doesn't need a break from its normal function. Then there's supplements. So I Googled supplements, right, and I got 10 billion things. Then I went to the supermarket and I just found one. It was the Swiss Ultivite Liver Detox. So I looked into that one. Its ingredients are globe artichoke, St. Mary's thistle, turmeric, and that's it. Not a lot. Allegedly, the globe artichoke helps bile flow. Maybe. Some studies show that it does in high doses, but that's in animals and not people. Anyway, the turmeric is anti-inflammatory and the St. Mary's thistle is an antioxidant. So yeah, will this hurt you? Probably not, but I'd be wary. Why? Why would you use something that may not help you, right? There's no science. There's no evidence. Also, is it gonna survive the stomach? I don't know. And are you going to absorb any of it? Probably not. You're probably just giving yourself expensive urine. Sorry. I get it. I want you to care about yourself so much that you do almost anything to make yourself better, whatever better means. But if you are struggling with something, acne, bloating, feeling hormonal, feeling like you're just not at your best, talk to your doctor, okay? We know so much and there's a lot we don't know. But the thing is, we became doctors, and especially GPs, because I'm a GP, so I can only talk on behalf of, well, myself and other GPs. But we want you to feel like the best version of yourself, and we want to get to the bottom of things. If you're anemic, we want to ask why. That's just a basic example, but run with me, okay? This isn't it. You can't supplement to health. You can't supplement for wellness. You're not a better version of yourself if you take a liver detox vitamin every day. Your liver doesn't need a detox. It is the detox. Unless you have a deficiency in your diet, you have an absorptive issue, or you're losing too much of a nutrient, supplementation's not going to help you. That includes multivitamins, guys. You're not going to absorb it. And I do go into that in detail in another video, but you just aren't. I'm sorry. I know how easy it seems. If I just take a multivitamin, I'll be better. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. I hope you have found this educational and helpful, and I hope that my passion isn't misconstrued as attacking anyone or being angry. I'm really, really passionate about people and making you feel better. And obviously I'm one person, right? I'm one doctor. I'm not every doctor. There are crappy doctors out there, and I'm sorry if you've had experiences with them. But supplements and detoxes are a myth, and there's nothing more to it. So guys, if you liked this, or if you have questions, let me know. I'm happy to give general advice or show my working or the papers and whatnot. Please do hit like and subscribe if you're interested in more content. I think my next series after the Rotation Diaries is going to be about this sort of media mainstream terminologies and how to combat them. But until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you later.